Please note that if you purchase something by clicking on a link within this story, we may receive a small commission of the sale. In his office, Xander shares his concern with Alex that someone is trying to overturn the Titan-Demera merger and instructs him to find out who is behind it. Meanwhile, Gabby meets with Steve, who used the Freedom of Information Act to get the merger filings that raised the red flag with Xander. Steve's not sure the answers are in there, but he'll keep looking. So will Gabby, who later calls Xander to make dinner plans. Alex comes to Steve for help finding the person who garnered information about the Titan-Demera merger. The name they found was Daniel Lucas, which he assumes is an alias. Steve is oh so sorry, but says there's not enough information to go on. Since Steve is the best detective he knows, that's good enough for Alex. Steve has questions of his own, though, namely about Alex's grand theft and indecent exposure charges. Alex explains he was involved in a college prank involving stealing a fraternity's 50-year-old parrot, worth $10,000, and the toga he wore for the party ripped off during the failed heist. Steve chuckles and apologizes for the interrogation. Alex respects that he was just looking out for his daughter, but he doesn't have to worry because Stephanie is Alex's favorite person in the whole world. He knows how lucky he is to be with her, and he'll treat her like a queen. At the bistro, Gabby and Xander banter over drinks until Xander calls her out for wanting Titan-Demera to fail. She assures him her future depends on Titan-Demera's success as much as his does. Once Xander is appeased, Gabby suggests they don't go back to the office tonight. Instead, she'll order them a bottle of wine. At the Demera mansion, Tony holds a crystal decanter and asks Anna if she snuck port wine last night. "I never sneak wine," she says. "I only openly indulge and enjoy." He swore there was more left of his special vintage. Anna jokes that a spirit got into the spirits, leading her to relay her conversation with Susan about Stefano being alive. Anna reminds her skeptical husband that this is Salem. People have been raised from the dead by the multitudes. Tony doesn't think it's possible. Were he alive, Stefano would have never allowed Titan to take over Demera Enterprises. Tony vows to get it back with Gabby's help. Anna hopes this doesn't mean he wants to stay in Salem. Tony assures her that Gabby will be CEO and he can pull strings from anywhere in the world. Anna gets on board when she imagines designing clothes for Gabby Chic. Wearing a Sweet Bits apron, Chanel meets Johnny in the square during court recess. She reminds him he doesn't need to testify, but he wants the whole world to know he's innocent. Besides, his father is putting up a strong defense by proving he is so universally hated that most of Salem wants him dead. After Johnny heads back to court, Paulina sits with Chanel and consoles her about Johnny's trial. Chanel grows even more emotional upon seeing a dad push a stroller through the square. Paulina knows she and Johnny will focus on their family's future after the trial. After some afternoon delight at the Salem Inn, where EJ and Belle declare their love, Belle meets Jonathan Reiner at the courthouse. He's from the state AG's office and will be observing, considering she is prosecuting her nephew. Belle promises she's committed to serving with integrity and impartiality. In the corridor, Johnny stresses over Belle questioning him on the stand about the reason he was so angry with EJ before his shooting. EJ instructs Johnny not to bring up Sami's rape, only to say he thought EJ got in the way of him and Chanel adopting a baby. EJ's advice quickly goes south as Belle gets Johnny to admit on the stand that prior to EJ's shooting, he learned EJ raped his mother, which led to his conception. He also admits he took Roman's gun because he considered using it. Belle turns to Jonathan in the gallery, who nods in approval and leaves. When it's EJ's turn, he point-blank asks if Johnny shot him. Johnny says he couldn't go through with hurting him because he's his dad and he loves him. EJ then gets Johnny to state that Belle is his aunt. EJ doubles down by implying Belle chose to expose information not yet introduced into evidence based on her personal knowledge. Belle objects, and the judge reprimands EJ for hurling accusations at the prosecution. On redirect, Belle gets Johnny to admit he did, in fact, say EJ got what he deserved when he was shot, and that he didn't care if he lived or died. EJ recrosses and asks Johnny what EJ's relationship is to Belle. Johnny appears confused and awkwardly says, "She's your girlfriend." EJ tells the judge that Belle has a major conflict of interest and should not be allowed to prosecute this case. Which is why I call for an immediate mistrial. Goodbye, afternoon delight. Welcome to the Days of Our Lives Daily YAPP for a quick, and by that I mean you're already halfway done, recap of the most amazing or what the heck did we just watch moments on today's episode. Let's get to it. Stefano's alive seems to be the new old battle cry on Days of Our Lives, thanks to Susan Banks' declaration. Salem and fans have been through this countless times before, as the phoenix had always risen from the ashes. But that was before the late, great Joseph Mascolo passed away in 2017. Hope had already allegedly killed soap's most notorious villain in early 2016, but there were some confused rumblings that he had survived. However, all these years later, we are told he is really and most sincerely dead. And we believe it. With good reason. Johnny told Chanel why he was sure his grandfather had to be dead. His age. At this point, Stefano would be over 100 years old if you think back on the character's history. When Stefano first arrived on the Salem scene in 1982, he was an older gentleman with a grown son and an alleged grandchild on the way. If Stefano were still alive, we'd finally believe that he was indeed superhuman. However, Tony has been acting more like Stefano than ever recently, which makes us suspect he is actually Andre, the one DiMera who took after Stefano the most. Perhaps that is why Susan senses in the mansion. And as an aside, Johnny's impersonation of his quirky grandma? On point and chef's kiss. Want more details? We got you! Soap Central has the best full DOOL recaps on the internet. You can even go back over 30 years and read each and every one of them. If you can't wait until the next episode, we have daily spoilers too. And whatever you do this weekend, do not. Seriously, do not. Forget to read the 2 scoops for some laughs in the as close as we can come to being a watching party without actually being a show. And the best part is if you agree or disagree, we want to know. As always, share your comments below. Days of Our Lives. Spoilers for Friday, August 8th reveal that 3 kisses will shake up Salem. Chad DiMera will also play doctor for Kat Green, while Belle Black rages at EJ DiMera. So let's talk about what's coming up on DOOL. For starters, it looks like Kat will be feeling a little under the weather, so Chad will nurse her back to health at home. Let's hope whatever Kat's got isn't contagious, since she's about to plant a big kiss on Chad. Of course, we should consider the possibility that it'll be a dream, since Kat's been fantasizing about Chad lately. However, it's also possible Chad and Kat just won't be able to resist temptation anymore. Other days' spoilers say Sarah Horton-Kiriakis will run into Brady Black after her shift at the hospital. Once Sarah encounters Brady in the town square, they'll decide to have dinner together at the bistro. As luck would have it, Gabby Hernandez is already there with Xander Kiriakis. Days' spoilers indicate that Gabby will steal a smooch from Xander right as Sarah and Brady enter the restaurant. That'll rile Sarah up enough to steal one from Brady next, so he'll be taken aback when she pulls him into a hot lip lock. Xander will get up from the table and try to launch a physical altercation with Brady, but Sarah may intervene before things get out of hand. In the courtroom, EJ will continue to push for a mistrial based on Belle's conflict of interest. Days' spoilers say Belle will rush to her own defense, especially since EJ's got a conflict of interest too. Now that Belle is fuming over EJ's dirty move, it won't be long until she unleashes her wrath on him. EJ will insist he's just doing whatever's necessary to fix things for Johnny DiMera, but Belle will rip into him over his latest tactic. Speaking of Johnny, he'll lean on Marlena Evans for support as the week winds down. Days of Our Lives spoilers say Johnny will give Marlena updates on all the latest news from court, so stay tuned to watch her comfort him. Days of Our Lives spoilers reveal that Rafe Hernandez could be gearing up for another coma crisis. An ominous Kat Green clue could point to a life-threatening ordeal, so we should discuss all the danger ahead. In Days' August 5th episode, Rafe gave Kat a self-defense lesson so that she could be prepared. Although Shane Donovan doesn't plan on sending Kat out in the field much, she wants to be able to take care of herself just in case. Kat ultimately impressed Rafe since she was a quick study, though he suggested she might need a few more lessons before she was ready to take on the bad guys. However, it's what Rafe said next that could put his own survival at risk. But don't worry, okay? Because as long as you're my partner, I will protect you with my life, Rafe assured Kat. That's the kind of promise that's inevitably going to lead to trouble. Day's writers surely wouldn't have Rafe say something like that, unless he was indeed going to put his own life on the line for Kat sooner or later. Of course, there's nothing to indicate that Rafe's getting a fatal exit, but things could still take an alarming turn. Rafe might be mistakenly presumed dead for a bit and send his loved ones into panic mode. Or maybe he could end up in a coma again instead. Day's fans will recall that Connie Vaniski put Rafe in a coma last year, but perhaps another one could be in his future. That's the kind of thing that could leave Kat feeling both grateful and guilty for what Rafe's going through. Naturally, it's also possible that Rafe's potential injuries will be more minor. The real point of that "protect you with my life" vow might be to set up some flying sparks when danger strikes. Rafe might come through for Kat when it counts and get a kiss planted on him if things turn more sizzling between them. Regardless, DOOL's laid the groundwork for Rafe to play the hero for Kat and put his own life in jeopardy in the process. Days of Our Lives spoilers say some dangerous curveballs are still to come for Rafe and Kat. In the 10 months since he made his Days of Our Lives debut as Javi Hernandez, Al Calderon has earned a legion of fans. He's turned a never-before-heard-of member of the Hernandez clan into a beloved character. But the actor is now moving on to a career in primetime. News recently broke that Calderon would be leaving Days to star in Season 2 of the NBC drama Brilliant Minds. The role of Javi is set to be recast, but with the soap taping close to a year ahead, Calderon will still be seen on your Salem screens until next spring. On the evening of August 6th, Calderon took to social media and posted words of gratitude in his Instagram stories. "My time on Days of Our Lives has been truly life-changing," Calderon wrote. "I'm endlessly grateful to the cast, crew, and creatives who made me feel seen, valued, and part of a legacy of family. I'll carry the love, lessons, and memories with me on every journey I go on. While I'm just a small grain of sand, I'm just happy I got to pass through the hourglass. As my mom used to tell me, it's not goodbye, just see you later. I love you forever, @DaySpeacock." Since coming onto the Salem scene, Calderon and Javi have endeared themselves to fans as we've watched Javi's romance with Leo Stark play out. They survived Leo accusing Javi of stealing his body and soul scripts and leaking spoilers in the Salem Spectator, and are now living together while fostering little Tesoro. Javi and Leo have grown attached to the baby and are sure to be crushed when they learn he is really Tate and Sophia's baby. Javi has also resumed his life as an EMT and is becoming a regular member of University Hospital's social circles. That means that Calderon is sure to have some meaty material coming up on Days before his tenure with the soap ends. There has been no news about who will take over the role next spring, but be sure to check back with Soap Central for updates. Sami's moment of remembrance brought us all to tears. Days of Our Lives has been mourning the loss of John Black, while the cast has been mourning beloved star Drake Hogestyn. Fan favorite, Allison Sweeney was unable to film for John's funeral due to a scheduling conflict, so Sami missed the funeral. Lucky for fans and Sweeney, the writers crafted a return that allowed Sami to remember him her own way. The storyline also gave Sweeney the chance to honor Hogestyn on screen, and the result was soap gold. Sami returned to Salem this week, showing Days fans a side of her we haven't seen, especially when it came to John. Those two had a turbulent relationship at best. From the moment Sami saw John having sex with Marlena on the Titan conference table, she was out to destroy him. Even though John was Marlena's great love, Sami didn't care. Eventually, Sami apologized to John for her decades-long bad behavior. However, she had many unresolved feelings, which was why having her mourn him alone was perfect. Days utilized Sweeney's scheduling issue in more ways than one. The first was comments about Sami not being at John's funeral by different people, like Carrie and Belle, more than hinted that Sami's presence would have made things more difficult. Then, watching Sami sit alone in John and Marlena's home, breaking down in tears as she spoke to John and remembered him, it clicked that everything worked out right. Sami's rocky relationship would have been a glaring negative at the funeral. Instead, Days fans saw a new, grown Sami as she reflected on their relationship and the things she never got to say. Sami finally acknowledged John's positive impact on her life and said goodbye her way. Sweeney hit it out of the park as Sami, which should not surprise anyone. The actress left us in tears and gave a performance that made us feel like John was letting her know it was all good, kid. One ex-user summed up Sweeney's performance, saying, "I give @AllieSweeney Performance of the Week. Thanks for making me cry all through your parts. 2 special moments, Sami talking to John. The last one, always live in my heart. That's a fact. Great job, Allie." Sami Brady, #days of our lives. Days of our lives. Spoilers for Thursday, August 7th suggest some explosive moments on the horizon. 2 characters butt heads, while there's drama for one family, and a secret meeting is held by 2 so-called rivals. What's set to go down on Thursday? Time to find out. Days of Our Lives, spoilers for Thursday, August 7th, imply that Steve Johnson and Alex Kyriakis will butt heads. It sounds like this might have to do with Stephanie Johnson, or the little tidbit of information that Steve found out about Alex. Will he confront his daughter's boyfriend about his past arrest? Fans will have to tune in to find out. In other news, Gabby Hernandez will open up to Xander Kyriakis. However, is this genuine or part of her plan to manipulate him? Speaking of Gabby's plan, her partner in crime, Tony DiMera, will have a conversation with his wife, Anna DiMera, about his late father. Anna will point out how Susan Banks is claiming that Stefano DiMera is still alive, but it feels like Tony may fluff off Susan's claims, even though he knows something. Is Stefano still alive? Only time will tell. Speaking of the DiMeras, Days of Our Lives spoilers for Thursday note that Belle Black will have a secret meeting with EJ DiMera, and it looks like a trap is being set for Belle. EJ will do something ruthless as the days go by, so it sounds like he'll attempt to convince the judge to replace Belle as she's compromised. Will he video their secret meeting to prove Belle isn't being professional? Lastly, Johnny DiMera will admit his worries about the trial to his wife, Chanel DiMera. Is Johnny more concerned than he is showing? In March, Days of Our Lives made a behind-the-scenes change. Longtime senior producer Noel Maxim was promoted to co-executive producer after Janet Drucker announced her retirement. And this money, Peacock showed just how much they support Maxim's vision by renewing the show for 2 more years. We sat down with the very busy guy to get his take on Salem's past, present, and of course, the small town's future. Maxim told us right off the bat that the show will surprise everyone in the months and years ahead. He proudly shared what the writers and producers have been focusing on behind the scenes recently. We work every day to elevate, strive, and find out what these characters will do, what they're capable of, who they're trying to push, surprise, who they want to get revenge on, who they are desperately in love with. He explains about their daily tasks in the writer's room while revealing what their ultimate goal is for the daytime soap's future. We want Days of Our Lives to be challenging, surprising, and new and fresh every day, pushing the boundaries of how people feel, Maxim adds. Bringing you into our version of what you may be experiencing every day and sort of give you an exciting ride. Maxim is also committed to keeping Days of Our Lives a multi-generational experience. It's not solely focused on Gen Z or millennials. Every generation has someone they can identify with, and they can reach out to the sages in their world for surprising advice. He explains, "We call it the dad moment, or dad lore, mom lore, grandma lore, where they understand where you come from and give you a different perspective and allow you to sort of stretch and see. And it's not just about the youngsters learning from the veterans in Salem. The lessons go in both directions. On the other spectrum, we allow the sages and the characters who have more experience to actually learn and see fresh through the eyes of the younger ones on the show, so that they can relive in certain ways," Maxim says, "and maybe stretch and grow themselves and allow themselves to love, to feel revenge, to feel anger, and to also just marvel at the existence of every moment in the days of their lives. It was only a matter of time. Days of Our Lives spoilers photos for the August 8th, 2025 episode tease the smooch we've been waiting for. It's been a big week for Chat, and it all ends with a moment that will change everything. After their wild time stuck in the Salem University Hospital elevator, Chad and Kat will get the all clear from Sarah. But when Kat needs some TLC at home, Chad will be there to take care of her, and it looks like things will end with a kiss for this slow burn couple. Meanwhile, in the square, Sarah will once again run into Brady, who Xander has already become jealous of.